Situation is even to a music festival, but ending up giving both the nut but toss. Like so learning to the video will be the description below. Go and check them out. So legend to this vaccine 3, 2, 1.
The crowd was roaring, music blasting, lights flashing, and
Mm.
people dancing under the summer night sky. Suddenly, a man collapsed
Uh-oh.
in the middle of it all, clutching
Yeah.
his stomach in unbearable pain. At first, everyone thought it was dehydration or maybe food
Yeah.
poisoning. But within minutes, the screams weren't coming from the speakers. They were coming from him. Something was terribly wrong, something no one could have imagined. But how did this even happen? How can a man carry a baby inside his body? And what secret had he been hiding until this very
Secret.
moment? Stay with me until the end, because this story will unravel
Oh.
one of the most shocking medical cases ever recorded. His name was Callum Reese, a 27-year-old from a small town in Indiana. To his friends,
Indiana.
he was just another music lover who never missed a summer festival. He had
Yeah.
an easy laugh, a carefree personality, and a
Yeah.
relationship with a man named Marlon Hayes, who worked
Marlon
as a
Hayes.
sound engineer. They had been together for 3 years, a strong couple that
Wow. 3 years.
rarely shared details of their private life. To the outside world, they looked like any other pair of young partners in love. What no one knew, not even Callum's closest friends,
Yeah.
was that he had been living with a secret so unusual, most doctors wouldn't even believe it until they saw the evidence themselves. And not even his family knew the truth. In fact, Callum had spent his whole life hiding a part of himself from his parents and his older brother, Zach. That night,
Really?
under flashing neon
Oh.
lights, Callum suddenly felt a sharp pain in his lower abdomen.
Uh-oh.
At first, he brushed it off as cramps, maybe from festival food, maybe from standing too
Could be.
long.
Yeah.
But the pain grew worse, spreading
Yeah.
across his stomach like waves.
Yeah.
Marlon noticed him sweating and holding his side. Callum, are you okay? He asked over the blasting music. I just, I don't feel right, Callum muttered, trying to steady himself. And then, the impossible happened.
Wow. What?
His body jerked forward, and a gush of fluid spilled
Oh, it was a bug.
onto the ground beneath him. The people nearby froze. Some gasped.
It was a bug. It's fully in the level now. Yeah. It was a bug.
Others backed away. No one wanted to believe what they were seeing. At first, the crowd assumed it was some kind of seizure, maybe a drug reaction. Security rushed over, ready to call paramedics. But Marlon's eyes widened in horror. He had known the truth all along, but he never imagined this would be the moment it came out. Callum
Yeah.
was not sick. He was in labor. The
Yeah.
festival lights,
Yeah.
the pounding
100% true. It was in level because it was a bug.
bass, the dancing crowd. All of it faded into chaos as Callum's cries grew louder. The people around them looked at Marlon for answers. But what could he say? Who would believe that the man screaming in pain was carrying a baby inside him? And in the middle of the chaos, a familiar voice cut through the noise. Callum. It was his brother, Zach, who had come to the festival with friends. He pushed through the crowd, staring
Oh.
in disbelief as paramedics lifted Callum onto a stretcher. What's happening to you? Zach shouted, but Callum couldn't answer. His secret was spilling out, literally, in front of his own
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah. Literally. Yeah.
Paramedics arrived within minutes, pushing through the crowd. They laid Callum on a stretcher, but the confusion in their eyes was unmistakable. One of them whispered to the other, "This isn't possible." His abdomen was swollen, his contractions were clear, and yet, he was a man. The medics rushed him to the nearest hospital. Inside the ER, doctors gathered, stunned by what they saw on the monitors. Callum's body was in full labor, his vitals spiking,
Yeah. Full level. Yeah.
and a fetal heartbeat was
Because it was a bug.
detectable. The room fell into a shocked silence. How could this be? Minutes later, Zach stormed into the hospital with their parents. Callum's mother gasped when she
Oh.
saw him in the ER bed, while his father's face hardened into disbelief. "This is sick," his father muttered under his breath. "My son is not supposed to." He couldn't finish the sentence. "Dad, stop," Zach snapped. "He needs us. Can't you see what's happening?" Marlon tried to explain, but Callum's father turned on him, his voice sharp. Did you have something to do with this? What have you done to him? Tears welled in Callum's eyes. He had never wanted his parents to know this way. To understand how Callum ended up in this situation, doctors had to piece together the fragments of his medical history. Slowly, the truth came out. Callum had been born with a rare condition known as persistent Müllerian duct syndrome,
Really?
PMDS. It's a condition where, despite being genetically male, an individual develops some internal female reproductive structures, like a uterus. For most, it goes
Yeah.
undetected their whole life. But in Callum's case, it was far more developed. He had an underdeveloped uterus hidden deep in his abdomen, something that had never caused serious problems until now. But there was another
Until
part
now.
of the secret. Callum also had a small but functional ovary. For years, he had ignored it, ashamed and afraid to tell his family. He had only confided in Marlon. But that still left one
Yeah.
mystery. How did he get pregnant in the first place?
Yeah.
Here's where Marlon's role comes in. Unlike most men with PMDS, Callum also had a small but functional ovary. For years, he never thought much about it, believing it
Yeah.
was just a medical quirk. But during a fertility experiment abroad, something he and Marlon had looked into out of sheer curiosity, Callum underwent a procedure where doctors retrieved sperm from Marlon and introduced it directly during Callum's ovulation cycle. The odds were
Yeah.
astronomically low, but against all expectations, one of Marlon's sperm cells fused with Callum's egg, and it implanted. Callum was pregnant. When his parents heard this, his father exploded. You mean to tell me you let this happen? That you wanted this? His mother began crying, while Zach stood by Callum's
Man.
side. Dad, he didn't choose this, Zach said
Yeah.
firmly. But he chose to
You
fight
just
for his child.
you
Can't you
seriously fight
respect
for it,
that?
that's all, yeah.
At first, they had planned to terminate. The risks were enormous, and Callum's body wasn't built for childbirth. But when he heard the faint heartbeat during an ultrasound, something changed inside him. He
Yeah.
couldn't let go. So, together, they kept it hidden. Loose clothing, excuses about weight gain, a secret known only to Marlon and one discreet doctor who agreed to monitor the pregnancy. But fate has a way of exposing what we hide.
Yeah.
And at that music festival, the secret spilled out, literally. Inside the
Literally, yeah.
hospital, chaos turned into action. Obstetric surgeons were called in, but most of them had never dealt with a case like this. Callum's contractions were intensifying, his body straining against biology itself. C-section. It's the only way, one doctor declared. But there was no time. The baby was descending too fast. Against all odds, Callum's body was forcing the birth naturally. Marlon
Not that's so boss.
held his hand tightly, whispering, "You can do this.
Yeah,
Just
you could do
breathe.
it, yeah.
Just hold
Just
on."
be you
Outside the
can.
room, Zach and his father clashed again. "He's dying in there, and all you care about is what people will say?" Zach shouted. For once, their father had no words, just silence, heavy with guilt. The minutes stretched into
Oh, could be.
hours, doctors monitoring every second, fearing that Callum's internal structures wouldn't hold. And then, through sweat, screams, and unbearable pain, an infant's cry pierced the air. A baby boy was born. The
A
room
baby
fell
boy.
silent for a
Oh,
moment.
could be.
Then, the sound of that tiny cry filled everyone with relief. Against science, against statistics, against every medical textbook, Callum had delivered a living, breathing child. The
Yeah.
baby was small, fragile, but alive. Callum, however, was not out of danger. The delivery caused internal tearing, and
Really.
doctors rushed to stabilize him. Hours of surgery followed. Marlon sat outside, clutching the newborn, terrified he might lose the man he loved. Finally, after what felt like forever, the surgeon came out. "He's going to make it," she said softly. When his father saw the baby for the first time,
Oh,
something inside him cracked. He reached out with trembling hands, whispering, "My grandson." For the first time, he looked at Callum not with anger, but with pride. News of the
but
man who gave birth at a music festival spread like wildfire. Some called it a
yeah.
miracle, others a medical anomaly. But for Callum and Marlon, it wasn't
That's a could be, yeah.
about headlines. It was about survival, love, and the impossible child they now held in their arms. The
Yeah.
baby, named Rowan, became a symbol of their journey. For Callum, recovery was long and painful. His body was never designed for pregnancy, and doctors warned him he should never attempt it again. But he didn't care. He had defied nature and lived to tell the tale. Over time, even his
Wow.
father softened. He visited often, holding Rowan, slowly learning to accept the impossible. The
Yeah.
family wasn't healed overnight, but the baby had done something powerful. He had pulled them together again.
He's a good baby.
This case
Yeah.
stunned even the most experienced doctors. It proved that human biology still holds mysteries beyond our understanding. Callum's
Yeah.
rare condition allowed for what seemed like the impossible, male pregnancy and childbirth. But more than the science,
Yeah. That's a really good baby. Yeah.
it showed the power of love and determination. Callum and Marlon's secret, once hidden in fear, became a story that challenged what
Yeah.
people thought was possible. So the next time you hear someone say, "That's impossible," remember Callum
Yeah. In Brazil.
Reese. Remember
Yeah.
the man who went to a music festival and came home with a baby. If you
Yeah.
were in Callum's shoes, carrying a secret like this and facing your family, would you have revealed the truth or kept it hidden until the very end?
We the truth. Yeah. We the truth. Yeah. Because if you keep it a secret, um, those all was the truth. The secret all was as a way of coming out. So it's better to reveal the truth, not in the keeping a secret because we all know secrets are a way of coming out. So, you know, that was even to the music festival in Europe, giving both the nut for decade toss. Landing to the video will be the description below. Go and check them out and drop a like if you like and comment below if you want to see more reaction like this one. And subscribe if you're new and click the bell so you can be notified for minute below in my bye. Wow.